Please welcome our next speaker, Bruno Torterolo, a business applications architect. Today he will be presenting his session, Dataverse 101. Please stick around after Bruno's session for a live Q&A.
Hello and welcome to another edition of DynamicsCon. I'm really glad to be part of this community, of part of these sessions and part of the 90 sessions that were elected from you. So thank you very much. It's a great honor to be part of this event. Thanks to our sponsors that make this possible. And of course, thanks to you to be part of this. And well, you are going to hear me out like for an hour. So I hope it's something that you enjoy. Well, I'm going to introduce myself because it's my first time over the convention. I'm Bruno Torterolo. I live in Uruguay, a small country over South America between Brazil and Argentina. I'm a Microsoft business application architect with more than 10 years of experience. I'm getting used to these kind of events. It's my first event in a foreign language, so my apologies if something doesn't go as well as it should. But let's try to make it work. We are going to be presenting a new product of Microsoft. Actually, it's a rebranding product. So let's go ahead and see what we are going to see today. The session is called Dataverse 101. The main goal here is to give you an introduction to see what Dataverse is, what is the reconversion or rebranding of what used to be the Common Data Service, and how you can exploit this new platform that is a data platform and is over the context of Power Platform as a service. So we are going to see the main aspects of this new product. Jumping right to the agenda, we are going to see an introduction to the Dataverse. We are going to see the main features that are part of this product, when and why use this new platform, this new service that Microsoft is rebranding and is extending its capabilities over the Power Platform and beyond. We are going to see the main features and the main components in a demo that's going to take like 20-25 minutes, where we are going to explore what is Dataverse, the things that we need to know in order to exploit the capabilities and to use it in a productive or even a test environment, so you can get known of the platform. As always, we are going to have a Q&A space. Thanks again to the DynamicsCon organization and all those sponsors that made myself part of this. Well, thank you again to you to be part of today and all the conference. Well, the first thing we are going to see is the introduction to Dataverse. We need to know what is Dataverse, why we are rebranding what used to be the Common Data Service, and why it's taken into a primary part in the Microsoft Power Platform. Dataverse is developed to be our central repository of data centered in business applications, business logic, business processes. And its main goal is to develop a user interface in a low-code environment where you don't need any knowledge of programming. You need to know your business, the logic behind your business, in order to create models that are capable to sustain your applications, that are capable to deliver the information in a performant way and really give the final user the capabilities to exploit the data they use day to day. Okay? Say that Dataverse is a cloud-based, low-code data service and application platform. That means that Our main goal is to deliver the final user a centralized database where they can modify, they can secure the data without any program to be developed over the platform. Okay, what is the main goal? To attack the multi-user transactional applications in order to deliver the information in a proper way and in a fast way. Saying that, Dataverse is not a good match for long-term applications, for applications that work in batch of information, but that doesn't mean that we can't storage a large quantity of data. Actually, we can store up to 4 terabytes of information in a single instance of a database of Dataverse. Okay, being part of the Microsoft Power Platform give us a native integration with all the other tools such as Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate, and Power Virtual Agents, and give us the capability to interact with other systems using the connectors of Power Automate. Okay, that is like a pretty good introduction to the Dataverse and what we are going to face in the rest of the session. Okay, heading to the main components or main features that defines a data platform, I like to divide it in 5 sections. The first one, the storage, the data, the integration, the logic, and the security. Okay, the storage. As we said, we can storage up to 4 terabytes of information. We are trying to keep only data that is business related. That means we are going to store data that its source are applications of the business, that are processed from the business, that are forms of the business, that we use it in everyday decisions, that we use it to exploit all our capabilities with that data. So we need to store that data in a safe environment. Dataverse is resided over Azure. So everything you do, all the data that you generate or store in a Dataverse, you're going to be storing it actually in Azure. That means that the storage is going to grow based on the usage and how your organization is growing through applications, through processes, all related to the business. I'm categorical with this because Dataverse is developed and its main objective is to be a central repository for business data, not for other type of data or something more long-term data. Okay, that gives me the intro to the second point, the data. As I was saying, this is a low-code platform. That means you don't need any knowledge of programming such as SQL or any other language of programming frameworks or something like that. It gives you an UI UX interface that is developed and that is developed for the end user. That means that you are going to be able to define the models, you are going to be able to define all the business rules in a natural language definition. So if you can name your rule, you can define it in the Dataverse world. Okay? Being part of Power Platform gives you the capability to be integrated with any kind of source, any kind of model, being part of Microsoft Word or being part of another cloud-based models like Amazon, Google, or any other, or even on on-premises services, on on-premises storage. Okay, that integration also is said to be manipulated through custom connectors of Power Automate or even the REST API that is available to consume and to exploit all the data you have stored in a Dataverse database. The main feature and the reason to define this kind of repository is the logic that you can put into the data you have. Dataverse is like disrupting this world because it enables you to create logic through business rules, business processes, or even complex workflows in an automated way or in a triggering way by a user into the data level. That means that we can define models that have validations, that have errors, that have autocomplete features based in the data. Okay, you can define conditions that, if they are met over a certain value of a certain column, is going to have the same behavior in all your applications that exposes your model or consumes your model or uses your model in any way. So you only have to define it once over your database, and you're going to be able to exploit that business logic for all your applications, for all your features, being Power BI, being Power Apps, even Power Automate, in order to interconnect different models with your actual model. Being part of Azure or being resided over Azure gives you a couple of features of security that gives you the security to leave your data over there knowing that it's going to be safe. Why is that? Because every action you do is through Azure Active Directory. That means every aspect of security is monitored, is managed through Azure Active Directory. You can even set proper security or proper access to column, to even a column or to a data that is in a certain row. So you have the proper granularity that you need for all your business applications. How you manage this security, you have two ways of doing it: the managed hierarchy or the process hierarchy. The managed hierarchy is the most common one, that is the tree security, that if you have access to a parent node, you are going to have access to the child node, and so on and so on. And the process hierarchy gives you the capability to go and see the tree in a more cross way, giving you access to specific nodes of the tree. Okay, that gives you the advantage to define certain processes, so certain information is accessed by certain people, and that information with an extension of that information is accessed by another kind of user or collaborator in your organization. This kind of security gives you a 365 vision of all your data and all your business logic and all your business processes in your repository. Okay, but why use it? Why don't use a SharePoint based repository or a Azure SQL repository? And why is the main goal behind Dataverse? Well, being a data platform, the main goal is always to store your data. As we said, the goal here is to store business data. So you can define complex models over the database of Dataverse without knowing any kind of programming language. You don't have to know anything about SQL. You don't have to know anything about .NET or anything like that. Also gives you the capability to interact with other kind of models or data sources, even though there are no structural ones. You can connect them with a MongoDB model, with a Cosmos DB model. You can store files, images, and so on. And also gives you the capability to exploit the data through a specific data lake that is created when you create a new instance of a database of Dataverse. Okay, that gives you the capability to connect your model with any other model and vice versa. A cool concept that is brought from Power BI is the virtual tables. Okay, in Dataverse we have the capability to import a whole model from another source, an external source, and work with them with it in a local way. Okay, we can interact with that model in a consumption and in a modification way of that model, being that model in another source. Okay. Being part of Power Platform gives you the capability to interact through all the other tools. It gives you support to Power Apps offline mode. Actually, the main goal behind this reconversion of Dataverse is to be the central repository for all your Power Apps apps. So this gives you support for offline applications to interact with Power BI in a native way, and also gives you the capability to define a model, or actually brings you the definition of a model to be used with Power Virtual Agents in an organic way. We are going to see it in the demo that when we create a new instance of a Dataverse, it's going to create a whole bunch of tables. That tables create a model behind the scene that gives you the capability to create complex models in order to inject bots or artificial intelligence, so you can define predictive models or something like that over your Dataverse model in a native way. As being part of Azure, you are going to have a 99.9 availability of your data. It's going to be deployed globally, but you are going to be able to choose where your data is going to be stored based on different regions. And well, as all data platforms, solutions, and systems gives you the capability to make backups and data recovery. Actually, the data recovery and the backups are the same that we use for Azure SQL databases. So it's pretty simple to understand and to recover the data if something happens with your Dataverse. Now, here is like the conclusion of the theoretical part. So let's jump to the demo. What we are going to see in the demo, we are going to see the main aspects that you have to know in order to use Dataverse. The first component that we are going to see is not proper of Dataverse, is something that is associated to Power Apps, is the environment. For those that are from IT departments and you are IT guys, basically, you know that we define different environments in order to develop applications and then to prove it with our final customers before we jump to a productive environment. So this is the same concept. We are going to see it more in detail now in demo. We are going to see a database already created, and then we are going to see different capabilities that we can do with the database. So let me jump straight to Power Platform Admin Center. Here we are going to see the first component. I'm already created an environment. It's called test. It's the type of a trial. It's ready to use, so we are going to use it now to create a new database. And as I was saying, my region is South America. As I was saying, I'm living in Uruguay, in South America. So I choose for me to store all the data and all the applications that I'm going to create to be in a data center in Brazil. That is actually the main data center in South America. That gives me the capability to have better response times and also to follow the possible data legal compliance that you might have to be aware when you're creating this kind of applications or these kind of models. Okay, so we are going to use the test environment and we are going to jump to Power Apps. The primary thing we need to do is to select the environment we are going to work with and already choose the test environment. And as I said before, I already created a database because the creation takes like 5 minutes. And when I create a new database of Dataverse, you're going to see that we are given a bunch of predefined tables. Actually, this is a really small set of the tables that are created in a predefined way. If I go and select to show me all, we are going to see that behind the scenes, we are going to see many tables that are created for, let's say, artificial intelligence to interconnect with analysis. This could be exploited by a Power BI report. Let me see if we have the data lake. Here are all the columns or all the tables that are created in order to exploit the data through the data lake. And all the other tables that are created, I'm going to switch again to the predefined tables. All these predefined tables are created in order to you to use these tables and minimize the creation of new ones. Why is that? Because all these tables are interconnected by relations behind the scenes. Okay, so what is giving us Dataverse? It's giving us a whole bunch of predefined tables in order to meet almost all the scenarios that we are going to face when we create an application or when we are going to create a model for our organization. So a good practice is to use only the predefined tables, to modify them in order to meet our requirements by creating new columns, by changing the names, by deleting some columns and all that. Today, I'm not going to follow that good practice. I'm going to create a new table in order to make it simpler for the demo. But take that into account. Try to use always the predefined tables because it's going to be easier to relate an entity with another entity and to exploit your model in a better and easier way. So, first of all, we are going to create a new table. We are going to call it amount. It's going to create a predefined column that is going to be called name. This is going to be a single line of text. As you may know, in SharePoint is the same concept. So this is like a SharePoint with steroids. So we are going to follow that lead. Okay. As you may see, a column was created with a name, basically. We are going to see that more columns are going to be created in a couple of minutes. As you may see here, it's telling us that it's creating the other columns in a second. Okay, here we have it, all the other columns. These columns are going to be related with the model that we are going to use, but we are going to center in only the ones that we are going to define. So we are going to create a new column that is going to be enable. It's going to be of the type yes and no. Let me see if I find it here. Yes and no. Our predefined value is going to be no. Here I'm going to put yes, so we are in English. And we are going to create it. And we are going to add another column that is called amount. Okay, this is going to be currency. I think that enable I didn't. Okay, we are going to set it as required, the enable column. Then we are going to save the changes in the table. That's going to take a while. And we are going to see that when the changes are done, we are going to see new columns related to the amount column. As we define it as a currency, it's going to generate an amount base, an exchange rate, and a currency. These are relations to other entities that are defined in the model. Okay, so when we add new columns, our forms to create new elements, and our views are going to be updated to in order to show the new column. So we are going to go and edit the forms. We are going to edit the main form that is going to allow us to create new elements and edit them in order to add the two new columns created. As you may see, everything is under the context of Power Apps. So all our forms are going to be Power Apps. So we are going to add the new columns to our form. Actually, we are going to move the enable, and we are going to hide this column because I don't want to change who created the element. Okay, we are going to save the changes and to publish the new report, the new form, sorry. Once we are done, we are going to go ahead and go to the views, and we are going to edit again the view of the active elements. So we are going to add amount over here, and we are going to add enable over here. Okay, we are going to save the data and to publish again. Once this is done, we are going to go to the data panel, and we are not going to see any entry. So we are going to create an entry. Okay. As you may see, now we have in our form, and we have the two columns added, and we can create an element. So we are going to say that both is enabled to this amount of money, and we are going to save and close. Okay. We are going to refresh the data, and we are going to see a new entry. But let's say that we have Jane is not enabled to request any amount of data, but we can go and create a new element that allow us to define Jane an amount of money that is not allowed to have. This is a typical business rule that we can define over our model. So every application that uses our model is going to have that restriction. So we are going to head over the business rules tab, and we are going to define a new business rule. Which is a rule that we are going to define is that if the value of the column enable is in null, we cannot set an amount. Okay, and in the other way, if we are enabled to request some money, we are going to be able to set an amount of money to be requested. Okay, so the first thing is that we are going to rename our rule name, and this is enable amount of money. Okay, we can type a description, but we are not going to do it. As you may see, this is always under the context of Power Apps. This is a clean sheet of a Power App definition. So we are going to define the first condition. The first condition is going to be enable check. Okay, we are going to it's going to be associated to the entity amounts to, and it's going to check if the field enable equals a value. In this case, yes. If it equals, we are going to apply it. As you may see, here is creating the code that is going to be put here in a more natural way. So if the condition is met, what we are going to do, the condition is met, we are going to set the field amount as required. So we are going to choose amount and put it as required, okay? And we are going to make it visible, okay? So amount is going to be visible. If the condition of enable is not is no, basically, we are going to set the visibility to our field amount to high amount, and we are going to set a default value to the field to 0. Okay, it's going to be 0. We are going to apply this, and we are going to first save the new rule. After that, this take a little bit. We are going to validate that the rule is correct. This is going to make a validation over the model, and we are going to activate the rule. This means that every application, everything that uses your model now is going to apply this rule to your application, to everything you consume this model from. Okay, he is going to show us that there is a new business rule. And now when we are going to head to the data tab and add a new registry. Okay, now we have it. As you see, as enable is predefined as no, the field amount is not visible. We are going to say that should is enabled to put some money on the bank, okay? And we can save the entry. And if we update the data, we are going to see the entry created with a yes, and the amount that was enabled to be solicited by June. But let's go and create a new registry here. And let's say that Mike was allowed to ask for an amount of money, but we have to say that right now we cannot enable the amount of money that was requested by Mike. As you may see, our rule defined that if we change to no, the default value of amount is going to be 0, and as you see, our amount was changed to 0. Okay, we leave no and save and close. A new entry is going to be created with a Mike that is not enabled to ask for money, and the amount enabled is 0. Okay. I want to thanks again to the community, to DynamicsCon, and to our sponsors to have me here, and well, all of you for having me both and being part of this event. I hope it's the first of many. I would like to give you more capabilities of Dataverse wall. So please contact me in the chat. I'm going to give you my credentials and all my channels, so you can reach me and take this to the next level. This was an introductory session. I hope you enjoyed it, and well, let's try to use it in our everyday business application environments. Okay, and thank you again for being part of this community and this event, and see you next time. Hey everybody, thank you for joining this DynamicCon edition. I hope you had a great time having this session. as I was saying, this is an introductory session for Dataverse. We are not covering not even the 1% of the capabilities that has the tool, but I wanted to make him know the platform and know what are the principal characteristics behind the use of Dataverse. I didn't see any questions in the chat, so I'm going to make some tip points in order to get the best of Dataverse. I had some comments from Mark. I think here Mark Wolonik, that he was wondering if we were going to connect SQL to Dataverse. As I was saying in the theoretical part, yes, we can do that. We can integrate different models, not only tabular models as SQL, but we can integrate them to known relational databases as Cosmo or MongoDB. Now in the session, we didn't have much time to do an extensive demo and see all the capabilities, but you can create complex models in Dataverse. Actually, you have all the goods to be simplified of Azure SQL. You won't get the performance of an Azure SQL and all the integrations or the batching performance that you can achieve with an SQL database, an SQL or MySQL, a Postgres, something that is specific for large amounts of information. What is behind the goal of Dataverse is having a quick repository, a quick database created in a low-code environment where the business logic, the business rules, the knowledge of the business is the first thing you have to have in mind, and the data is like a conclusion of that. Okay, the data you are entering in the database is going to be structured, is going to be congruent to what you define as your logic business rules. Okay, so you can integrate with other data sources, but the main goal behind Dataverse is that you don't need to do that for your business applications. The goal behind this is to create quick and quick to market applications that have a trusted repository behind them, that you can create some business model driven rules. We have in the past session that we were seeing a Canvas application that was created and embedded over different platforms. Well, you can use Dataverse as the repository to that, and you can exploit the main objectives of the platform, that is to be quick to the user response. Okay, the performance is the main goal behind that. You are not going to process a lot of entries, a lot of records. The main goal here is to be quick in the answer and to be low in the complexity of how you put the data in your model, and the complexity comes with the definition of the business rules. When to use it and when to not, well, the thing is that Dataverse is going to be, actually Microsoft is trying to make it more special in that way, try to be the main repository for Power Apps. So your Power Apps and Team Apps, actually you are having a new version of Dataverse, a new licensed version of Dataverse that is for only Team Apps. And the idea behind this is to be close to the end user, to the business end user, and not so much to the IT guy. Okay, when we need a complex system or a batching system or some legacy systems that need to have a complex data management, but the data, not the rules that you are applying to that data, okay, go to an Azure SQL. But if you are going to define something more quick, something for the day-to-day usage as a, let's say, a power up for, I don't know, managing the incomes of a company, or the audience assisting to an event or something like that. Well, you can use a power up and use Dataverse as a backup, so database repository that you're going to have all the data structured as you define the business logic. Okay, here I have a question, sorry, from Marcelo. Is Dataverse tables recommended to keep persistent sensitive data from Power App? It is supposed to be used as the official DB for Power Apps, or should we have SQL DB for standalone Power Apps? Okay, I think I didn't read it before, but yeah, it's intended to be the main repository for Power Apps. But if you are going to keep historical data, I recommend you to have a flow that migrates that historical data to an Azure SQL, or depending the model that you are managing, to a more complex database or something that is not relational. Okay. Nowadays, the only way to access to Dataverse is through a Power Apps, Power Automate, or a Teams licensing license. Sorry. So yes, is the official database for Power Apps. You can use SharePoint, but you are not going to have the same performance, and you are going to be limited for accessing the data. Okay. You can use an SQL database for a standalone Power App. Yeah, I don't recommend you to do that. You are going to have more cost, and you are not going to have the same performance. That's the truth. Going to Tony, you always stated that you should delete a field from an out of the book table if not needed. This was not the case in the old CRM day. Not to any of. No, you can delete any field that is defined in a predefined table. If you create a new table, you have and that field is not related with any other table, you are going to be able to delete that field. If not, you are going to need to delete the relation first and then the field. Okay, it's a little bit complex, but you can do it. You won't be able to delete any field from a predefined table. That's not an option. Okay. Okay, I'm hearing some discussion. Darlene, if you're connecting to SQL, do you also need to have the data? No, if you're connected to an SQL, what you can do with Dataverse is to import your model from SQL and use the capabilities that work better for Power BI of having virtual tables. So you can import your model, work with that model, and connect it with the model you have in Dataverse. Okay? Please use that. Adriana, what is my favorite Dataverse feature? The favorite thing I think is that you don't have to have programming skills. Okay, it's easier to train new people, to train citizen developers to use this, to see the motion in their faces as they can create a model or the application without the need of calling an IT guy, and see them fail but then succeed in the models. The simplicity that you have to define complex business rules and see how that works for all your applications in your organization. I have done 5 to 10 projects where the database is the main repository for the Power Apps applications, and see that they have a common ground where they create an application that consumes the model, and all the validations of their business are done, and when they speak with another area and they didn't know that they have to fill some field in that way, and the application without doing anything already brings that up. It's something that is quite gratifying and easy to do. Okay, as as Chris was saying, you can delete any system tables, columns, or relationships. So what you can do is to rename them, and if you create a new table, as I was doing in the demo, you can delete some of the columns that you create, the one-line text and all that. Those that have relations behind that, you won't be able to delete it in the UX UI interface. Okay. No, Tony, you didn't hear wrong. I told that you can delete some columns, but in a non-predefined table. Okay, if you create a new table as the demo, you can delete some of the columns, not those that have a relationship like currency that we create in the table. You can delete that column. You have to delete first all the relations behind that, and then you're going to delete the column. It's not as easy as it looks. Okay. Well, I don't know if anyone has any other question. If not, okay. I think the main goal behind this session was met, that everybody is trying to see the connection between Dataverse and how they can grow the love for it in your business partners. I don't know, Mark. I don't know what I hope that is the same next year, next month, because I'm getting used to the name. Is much better than common data service, because nowadays is focused to be a new tool inside of Power Platform, not just a service. And well, let's hope that Microsoft keep investing in this, because it's a great product to make it a whole. Okay. Well, thank you all. Thank all the sponsors. Thank all the community. Thank you for coming to this, and of course to all the ones that are involved with the Dynamics Con. Thank you again for making me part of this. I'm more than thrilled to be part of this, and I hope to have another session for the next conference. Okay, thank you all. Please let me give my LinkedIn and my personal email, so you can contact me whenever you want. I'm a workaholic, so I can answer you at any time. Here is my LinkedIn and my personal email. Feel free to ask everything you want. And well, see you next time. Thank you all, and goodbye.